Hello, my name is Chris, and I am back from Fresh Look Cinema. We are going to be talking about Home Sweet Home Alone. This is a Netflix original, and it's very similar to the old films Home Alone. Now, personally, I love Home Alone 1 and 2, whether they're talking about him being left alone in his house in the first one, and the second one, he actually gets left alone in New York. So I love those two very much. This one has a different spin on it. I'll be 100% honest. I didn't like it as much. I didn't like it as much as the originals, but it's still a funny kid movie. Definitely with the family. That's about it. Now, this movie is a little different because they switched up the plot. So, of course, in all the Home Alones, there's always some kind of burglars that try to break into the home. And then the kid has to pretty much take them on with whatever means necessary. Pretty much sets up a very Saw-like atmosphere of like booby traps and a lot of hijinks to try to get the burglars to leave or to quit pursuing him or whatever item that they're really, really wanting. And it shows a family that Max Mercer and his mother actually go and see. It's a real estate. They're considering selling their real estate property. So they go there because it's an open house. And once they get there, they start looking around and they're moving stuff out of the house. And there's a box that a kid focuses on. And it's funny because he's looking at it and the mother actually says, "Hey, one of those dolls in that box, I remember it being really expensive," or makes mention of seeing it on auction for lots of money. The guy looks it up later on that day, looks it up and goes, "Oh man, this thing's worth a lot of money." And unfortunately, they're kind of hurting for money, this married couple. So the dad was in technology, and now his job's obsolete due to the cloud that stores data. So he's not really needed anymore. So it's funny because they make a lot of references to modern day technology, and his job's just, there's no need for his job anymore. So he's out of work, and they're really struggling with the mortgage, and that's why they're selling so they can downsize and afford something not as grand. So he looks at this price for this ugly looking doll. It looks like an upside down head doll, and it actually would pay for their mortgage. It would actually help their life overall. So they're like, okay, so he goes back to the box, and the doll is missing from the box. And the last person that was by this box was this kid that wanted one of his sodas. So he's like, man, this kid took the doll. So he then tries to find where this kid lives, remembers a conversation between him and his mother, and he goes to snoop out the house. Turns to find out that there's no one living there currently because all of them went on vacation to Japan for the holidays, conveniently. And the kid fell asleep in the car, so he was the only one left there. So he's like, the dad, the married couple goes to the house, looks through the window, and real creepy like sees the bag where he thinks the doll's at. So it then pursues, like, this is the motivation for his wife and himself to break into this house, steal this doll, and have a happy ever after and not have to sell the house. Because they really don't want to tell their kids, hey, we're trying to sell the house. Sorry, but you're not going to live here anymore because of our situation. So, I just don't like the plot. It's pretty much taking two normal people that never breaking any laws and then being like, oh, okay. So instead of contacting their parents, instead of, knocking on the door and saying, hey, listen, we were missing this doll. If you took it, can we please have it back? Or, being adults, they become burglars and try to steal a doll from a kid and breaking into their house. And I'll almost spoil. You kind of get where the story's going, but I won't spoil the ending. But there's a lot of interesting booby traps, hijinks that occurs, and some of them look pretty painful. I was surprised how some of them turned out pretty devastatingly painful for this married couple that are now burglars. So I just didn't like it. It didn't have the same feel. Like the first two Home Alones, I was dying laughing. I mean, the traps and craziness and the hilariousness of all of it was great. It fit together. You were rooting for this kid to take on these burglars, survive the night, and then reunite with his family. And I mean, it was amazing because it was like, okay, he did it. He survived the night. He took on two burglars that were, I mean, convicted felons. And then he got to reunite with his family and understand the meaning of Christmas and understand the meaning of having a family, to be loved. So with this storyline and this plot, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel connection to the character. I didn't feel connection to his family. I didn't feel anything. I mean, I honestly felt like I was rooting for the married couple. I was like, I mean, get that doll. That's how I felt, because they were really, I think the focus was split too much. I think the focus should have been more on the kid and less on rooting for the married couple. I understand that probably was the point, was to have kind of a mixed feeling, a split feeling between, okay, you have this family that's struggling financially and they have to get this doll, but they have to commit a horrible crime of breaking and entering, stealing something from somebody, and pretty much chasing after a kid. But I do like the concept, and this was hilarious because they were talking about the doll, but they didn't say doll. They said, man, we have to get this ugly kid, or like this ugly thing. And the kid heard, and his only perception was, they're going to try to take me and steal me, and they want me. Because he thought they were talking about him. So, I mean, that was the funniest thing. So throughout the story, you have the married couple that's trying to get the doll, and this kid that has a completely different mindset. Like, they're trying to take me. I need to take care of myself. I need to save myself. I need to build a house full of booby traps. And he does. And that's the funny part. The small humor would be like the little jokes that are given from side characters. And then watching the hijinks that occurs like in every Home Alone movie that has ever been created. There's always that towards the end of the movie, high level of hijinks and booby traps that occur throughout the whole entire climax of the movie. And I really liked how Buzz McAllister was introduced into the film as a police officer. So Buzz was the older brother to the main character in the first couple Home Alone movies. And I thought that was hilarious because he was like, yeah, my brother likes to do these pranks where a kid's home alone under his system. And the main character in Home Alone, the little kid that was left alone all by himself, actually came up with a security system called the McAllister security system. And it's funny that they tied that in. I really enjoyed that. I was like, oh, that was Buzz. I was watching with my family, and they're like, what? I was like, that was Buzz from Home Alone. That was the older brother that would make fun of the main character, the little brother. And they were like, oh, okay. And I was like, I got it, at least. I got the connection. The McAllister security system, that was really funny. So I was happy to see that connection, that, these events are happening in one reality. So it was nice to see that connection, at least, to the Home Alone films. So I guess my only kind of criticism would be focus. Like I said earlier, I really wish the focus was more on developing the character, Max Mercer, and just kind of focusing on fleshing him out. A lot of scenes where, he was home alone, he was having a great time. There was like a Scarface scene, like reference, which was really hilarious. So, I mean, I understand them trying to make the character more relatable to the kids. And it was funny in that sense, but having that split where you felt sorry for the married couple, dramatically doing something crazy just to save themselves from losing their home. I mean, I just didn't like that concept. I didn't like where I had to root for both sides instead of, in the first and second film, you're like completely against the burglars. They're bad. We don't want to see them succeed. We want to see the McAllister kids succeed. And that's what I got from this movie. I just wish it had more of that feeling behind, rooting for the good guy. And in this case would be the kid having a misconception that, they're going to take him and we want them to be safe. I do think this is a great family film, but for anybody that really loves Home Alone, it's just going to look like a rinse and a repeat, unfortunately. So, personally, I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it felt so similar, and again, going back to that one point where I had a split decision of if I liked who I was rooting for. And in the end, the film ends as predicted. So for Home Alone, and it's on Netflix, and it's a Netflix original. I recommend it just as a fun holiday family film. But as an adult, I'll just watch Home Alone 1 and 2, personally. So if you like these reviews where I talk about movies, animations, manga, video games, anything in between where I can give a review, please smack that subscribe button and hit that like button for the almighty YouTube algorithm. So I thank you, and please watch more videos if you haven't already. And I hope you guys have a great day and happy holidays.